They agreed to it. How can you have agreed to a conditionality and taken $330 million for it in December 2024, and then come this year to complain that the very thing you agreed to, which binds us, because the IMF, they don't deal with parties, they deal with governments. The day we renege on this agreement, they can call off this program, and the consequences will be catastrophic. So the NPP cannot purport to be lamenting the implementation of the very policy that they have agreed to. It is not honest politically.
Correct IMF document nimu. IMF document edemu clear. It says 15% every 3-month tariff increase rate. Every single 3 months biano. Ebeba.
Yes, President Bekachre said Bank of Ghana making some interventions. Some of us need to say but $10 billion, Mr. President, is too much.
Businesses also secure forex. Buy forex from the Bank of Ghana. So they go and give the Bank of Ghana cedis, the cedi equivalent of how much forex they want. The Bank of Ghana takes that money, gives it to Gold Board to purchase gold. The Gold Board then exports that gold, gets dollars and brings it back to the Bank of Ghana. So it's not like the Bank of Ghana goes into its vaults, takes dollars and go and give it to commercial banks for free.
NPP for Akotu fire no e de asema ba. Felix Ofosu Kwakye say entro no etuontwa. When in regarding the utility tariff, you see your friends NLLA energy tariff here say the ibe. Other minority former minister Dr. Okoe-Boye say NDC for just said the omudi Ghana no say Ghana for ya da so de pan ye behu akebe say omu kun omu wiwe kra o se omu te won omu se omu COVID-19 trust na Ghana for ye o se okay omu COVID-19 trust ni wiye no when you say omu the 15% friends and tariff e dey ato electricity tariff e dey asaba and from 2026 Ghana for more extra 15% akamu electricity bill home. Now say you 1% COVID-19 tax, near the 15% buy when the papa mua. Now when the first Ofosu Kwakye Okasama John Dramani Mahama in the presidency, or say NPP for Santa Moshokio, just a most shocking me papa. Or say and throw away now or Montumbasi, or be cancelled through now once and for all. Or see Dr. Okoe-Boye Ntrono, number 1. Onka say IMF deal. NPP. Eko sign with IMF no. And omudi say according to omo former finance minister, Ken of Oriata, ebe catch Ghana for say look. Every naira crow, every 3 months biano. Per IMF is say no mko ye no. Say ye peja ye electricity and water bill mu kakra. Eno edaso da IMF sika no ye free IMF project ni mu enti se obeka se aden na government to the day every 15% abra mo na mayo ma de ense che mo amahyeche ato dada o say the same time sabra back e bia na unyi na asem na okan ni se kenofurata kan e bi so na onkai se okan e ko he IMF document ni mu IMF document edemu clear e che se 15% every 3-month tariff increase rate every single 3 months bia no ebeba enti eyade John Dramani Mahama John Kwame Nkrumah John Ababio on the finance minister Dr. Kessler to forcing to is forcing now man for born abaso aye omo yi and the energy minister John Jinapo after say 1 Ghana cities energy levy omo de ba ya abuwa stabilizer and dum so ye hu bio no nyina no no de omo yo maduma na emom no enhyehyɛ ya omo to ye no omo na amefo sika se eba omo je ka da ho eba eso mutua at the same time nhyehyɛ omo kyekye omo ani so a sika de aka amefo fama en ka ya ho so say so omo kotua esa so IMF esu enyi Ghana enfi ni program no so and Ghana for so poised say by 2026 ye be free IMF no so and we can only do that by complying with the IMF akatire and so far say IMF akatire say every 3 months bia no e say ye increase even say ye tariff utility tariff to say electricity any water bill adenti na chinchin na twan mo MPP for mo de nam parliament the radio station, TV stations, either than Ghana for 2 foot money. To say the money more. Meanwhile, more than more for the buy.
Oh, apart from the deal levy, electricity prices have gone up. The prices that we were paying under the NPP administration, there's been increases about 2-3 times. In fact, when you do the estimates, you are looking at about 10 to 15 billion from electricity and water extra. These are monies that Felix and this administration, and you know the
currency depreciates. So that must be put on record. Again, he also says that electricity prices have increased. You see, there's a bird called Anumago Konekode. Oh, it is important. Yes, it's important to address this. You see, there's a bird called Anumago Konekode.
Okay.
Essentially, they go to the estuary of the river and muddy the waters. Then they quickly run down south to lament how muddy the water is.
Okay.
And that is essentially what the NPP is doing. You see, in December 2024, in fact, as part of the IMF program, one of the things that they were required to do was periodic tariff adjustments. You know that in times past, up until 2015 or so, the petroleum downstream was not deregulated. So government used to pay what they call subsidy. In reality, government never had money to pay, so there was always debt. And as and when it became convenient, a huge increase was slapped on the price of fuel at the pumps. So we took a bold decision to do full deregulation. Credit must be given to President Ofosu because he did partial deregulation. But we did full deregulation. Since we did that, when was the last time you've heard of fuel shortage? Or an astronomical increase in fuel prices, save for the period under the NPP between 2022 and 2024. That is because there's full cost recovery. When importers bring in fuel, they get the exact amount of money that they put into importing it. So there's no debt. They call it full deregulation. Electricity costs money to generate. And what we have often done is that government has committed to subsidies that it does not have the money to honor. So constantly there are debts. And then when it hits a critical point, we go into doom zone. Because the utility companies simply do not have a leeway out. As I speak to you, in this budget, the budget for 2025, the finance minister has had to pay 27 billion Ghana cedis to the energy ministry to give to operators in the sector as what they call energy sector shortfall. Because the amount of money it costs to generate electricity is far more than what they bring in. The difference has to be made for by government. And this year, 27 billion. Imagine what 27 billion Ghana cedis can do. Next year, because of the efficiency improvements, the situation has improved so that now it will be 15 billion, not 27 billion. And we hope to bring it down and eliminate it completely. You understand me? Because of this age-old problem, Ken Ofori-Atta is on record to have said that increases in electricity that they did in April 2023 were a precondition under the IMF deal. And in fact, it is in the IMF document in December 2024 when they went for the final tranche of the external credit facility that they could take because they were leaving office, about $330 million or so. They reached agreement, which is captured in the staff level report. IMF country report number 24/334, page 71. They reached agreement that they will do two things as prior actions to trigger the next release, which is that starting from the first quarter of this year, there will be quarterly tariff adjustments. Quarterly tariff adjustments. That quarterly tariff adjustment is supposed to address operational costs that arise during the year so that the companies don't spend more than they earn, which will make their operations unsustainable. So you find that they are marginal. Sometimes 3%, sometimes 4%. If you do that, for instance, if there's an increase in an input like crude oil or light crude to fire thermal plants on the world market, it is accounted for in the adjustment. If the dollar rises, making the import more expensive or other inputs more expensive, it is accounted for. If inflation rises to a point where it devalues the revenue they are making, it is accounted for. So that's what the quarterly tariff adjustment does. It is on page 71 of this document here. I can give it to you. Your producer can splash it on the screen. The full title of the document is that third review under the arrangements under the Extended Credit Facility, request for modification of performance criteria, and financing assurances review, press release, staff report, and statement by the Executive Director for Ghana, December 2024. I will quote the number again. Anybody can go to the IMF website and download it. IMF country report number 24/334. Okay. And then they said that in addition to this quarterly adjustment, there is supposed to be a major tariff adjustment in September and October. That one is done between every 3 to 5 years. And indeed, when PURC announced the major tariff adjustment of 9% for electricity and 15% for water, they indicated that the major tariff adjustment, which the NPP agreed to, is aimed at improving the asset base of the utility. So ECG and Ghana Water, they need equipment, they need transformers, and other things to sustain their operations. The quarterly tariff adjustment doesn't account for that. That one accounts for only operational costs, overheads. But in terms of the capital expenditure that they make, this tariff adjustment is to ensure that over the years it does not deteriorate and affect performance and efficiency. They agreed to it. How can you have agreed to a conditionality and taken $330 million for it in December 2024 and then come this year to complain that the very thing you agreed to, which binds us, because the IMF, they don't deal with parties, they deal with governments. The day we renege on this agreement, they can call off this program and the consequences will be catastrophic. So the NPP cannot purport to be lamenting the implementation of the very policy that they have agreed to. It is not honest political, and they must stop it. It does not respect the people who they seek to lead one day.
On the side, NPP before you, sometimes he sit down and ask himself, say, I am more pan and Okoe-Boye. Do they really want to come back to power? Do they really want Ghanaian people to feel at ease and at home? Our country Ghana, yeah, because entrone jandam ne settings, you know, adore so, too much. As one person bring Ghana for any so, but where am person because COVID-19 test a free. So Ghanaians will praise the government of the day and John Dramani Mahama say, Oshebo Oka so ba be ampanyampa obaye once time na be mram waye the effect. And it's about somebody be ma NDC nyam no. Eno na ono Felix Kwakye Ofosu say NPP for no pe omo be so omo beti omo hu adase omo ebe ye ha omo. And it's sad yeah. Let's take that opportunity and tell Ghanaians say 15% tariff na ye dey beto electricity use no. NDC for na ye miwa Ghana ni bi otwa light bill. This is on top light bill. Na bi otene papa fie ni ma me fie otene kunu fie. Se wa gasa wo fasi kafa card. Na ko gina a friend is a vendors ho. Na se also oto a friend is a unita. Every 3 months bia no be kono prices in SSA. And the same unit say open 100 unita. Na se na oto no a friend say 150 cedis a. Obe ko the next 3 months na 180 and now 170. The next na ko 250. Sa na ko ya be sin ne. Enti oni baby NPP for gonya sa different information ya. Abro omo na ye omo na start here. IMF on program one na ye na IMF etwa so. Enti Ghana ni bia what is NPP ni kasa asem na kai no. Kan say utie Maxi Billian. Awo neketu say na oni Felix Ofosu akwate. Felix Ofosu kwate cheche mu Ghana for ye tiase clear. Clear say NDC ni mo hwe NPP hyehyɛ eno anu muso omo toa so. Enti say edu ade papa na mu hia say yemfa bosobodi yemfa mo say omo so ka ho bia ade na we enko yie ne de omo nyemfa mi wa Ghanaians grand complain too much o omo nim say amamu yi de ebetu ne nya ana ye toa so sa nti mu dede be no ana ekosi hin
La General Hospital.
And please be brief about it.
Yes, I'll be brief. I think the major points have been exhausted. Yes. This La General Hospital matter. Okoe-Boye is here. They cast short for it in the run up to the 2020 elections. And I recall, they splashed the entire ring road leading up to La General Hospital with billboards of Akufo-Addo and artist impressions of La General Hospital. 2020. Ask Okoe-Boye, when did they start that project? It took about a 4-year delay. Of course, again, COVID was the whipping boy. They blamed COVID and everything else under the sun for why they couldn't start. Eventually, they did not secure funding for it. You see, unlike UGMC, Rage, and others, the VAMED projects and all the other hospital projects they inherited, which had financing secured. The UGMC, the money came from Hapoel Bank of Tel Aviv in Israel. $217 million was in an account. So as and when you raise certificates, you draw down on it. The raise money came from French sources. So it was a French, what do you call it, contractor that was executing it. The money was there. So you just continue. In fact, all that government needs to do is to do nothing. The project will go on. They didn't leave a dime for La General Hospital. So you saddle the government with a liability and make no provision for it. Agenda 111. Moro, you are a Muslim, but pardon me to quote the Bible. It says, somewhere in Proverbs, that who builds a house without sitting down to count the cost? You said that you will build 111 hospitals. In fact, the promise was first made sometime in 2019 when COVID struck. When President Akufo-Addo realized that John Mahama was getting all the plaudits for his investment in the major hospitals that were saving the day under COVID, he said they will build 88 hospitals in the space of 1 year. He failed to meet that target by the end of that 1 year. Then they metamorphosed, or they converted it into Agenda 111 and included more hospitals. If you do the computation, they needed close to $2 billion to complete it. You would have thought that if it was a priority, they will make provision like we have done for Big Push for this and put the money in an account dedicated solely to this project. They didn't do that. They were relying on the trickles that come into government coffers. So they were not able to open one for members of the public to use before they left office. Yet you expect that, and you had 8 years to do this. Yet they expect that the government that has come and been in power for about 11 months will be able now to complete all of this. Indeed, in the budget, we have said that we'll complete about 10 of the Agenda 111 hospitals next year.
All right.
And as and when we progress, we'll complete more. Even as others too that require critical attention are being done. So it is disingenuous to create such a mess. And then come and start on the rooftops and insist that that mess should be cleared within such a short space of time. When you, within 8 years, could not finish one Agenda 111 hospital for anybody to access. It is not proper. But finally, we also have other interventions. I spoke to you about, and the reason why I'm saying this is that people have asked, and it's my duty as government communications minister to answer it. The NPP and their propagandists have been on song, claiming that we said, oh, we will build in excess of 500 CHIPS compounds. So where are they? Moro, one of the things that this government must be credited for is the fidelity that they've kept to the District Assembly Common Fund utilization. I don't know about Okoe-Boye's tertiary force and what's the municipality? Lejokuku. Yes. So I'm sure he has the records there. Under their time, the Common Fund was the scarcest commodity you can find because they were doing deductions at the center. So the money was not going. We have a policy that says that 80% of the Common Fund must go. And every day I raise the issue of AAK. 298,000 the whole of last year, as against 6.5 million by the middle of this year. By the close of this year, we expect about 19 million Ghana cedis. Now, in order to align this additional flow with government's overarching strategy and objective, we asked each assembly or municipality to abide by a set of guidelines. So I was in cabinet when cabinet approved it. Among other things, they are supposed to have what we call a 24-hour economy market. That is for areas where they don't have decent markets. So if you come to AAK, for instance, our district capital, Oldboga, has a market that has been there since the 60s. Clearly, it has deteriorated and not fit for purpose anymore. So as I speak to you, land has been cleared for the construction of this 24-hour economy market. It will cost about 5 million cedis or so. And that's about 25% of the money is coming to the assembly this year. In addition to that, all these assemblies and municipalities and metropolises are required to have at least 2 CHIPS compounds built out of the allocation this year. The reason for that is the implementation of the free primary health care. And he is a medical expert, so he would understand that you need a basic building block for healthcare. So that if you have minor ailments like headaches and stomach aches and some minor rashes and other things that don't require referral to higher levels of medical care, you can do so at the CHIPS compound level. So, as I speak to you, in AAK, 2 of them are almost complete. We expect that by the end of this year, we will commission both, one at Nyamedom, one at a place called Uhiaba. And it is the same for almost every place. They are at various stages of completion. And once they are completed, they will be dealt with. Indeed, the local government minister, when he takes his turn at the Government Accountability Series, will give an update on this one.
Akwesi Insia of Adum TV said, on TSC, the government, John Dramani, Mahama any ne Bank of Ghana governor Johnson Asiema any the finance minister Kessel Atuforsen Eddie over $10 billion ever supported Ghana your forest index nama eba in terms of a friend is saying you see the year ebe appreciate na stabilize it aden offers 10 billion no and go creating more jobs under the 24-hour economy say be creating more jobs you be importing less near exporting more near timi bibi say we are eno sa no sa artificial way you did $10 billion e dia chef forest mu you say a person stabilize emwaye
no me hu say yanka say nnuanom joy for aye publication me about say government are spending about $10 billion from January to now to sustain our exchange rate. In fact, and in all sincerity and honesty, bad. Me dwedini dollar bar for my boy. But for us as a nation, ya ye nyine ni madie ba ko a edi enyenti ama ya dollar to cedi hunkomodie no enwie peyo. Now within 1 year, you're spending $10 billion just to show up your dollar. And you're sitting komodie there. Then it's a challenge. $24-hour economy, according to Rev Visitano, needs $4 billion. And unim nebe di amaye. Ebe creating nyuma. Ebe open up production. Ewo mem $4 billion. Pumping $10 billion into the economy. Unim adiaye. I created thousands of jobs. Ewo baby a crane madi free. Anything and this oko dwemua. Ene maybe buo ewo sro. Ene ma ne boss be brinanka say enema ye ewo ye my way mu ena ne boss ro ba ne madodo aye kare bo man because a dollar no abaye easy access on sabetimi account no and ene bo ewo from there's no choice about that the market say because me ye cost on ti me krane mani bi and the last month am ne makra ba en kra no na save close to about 20,000 because of dollar above 40. But I continue to ask myself, say, yeah, then yet me pump $10 billion for BB, I say, and money me. When you use $4 billion, yet me a boy expanding my production, Jina Nasu ye. Am I the name of a break from Memo Quamon on it? And am I a credit from on a ball Memono, yet me at Tesua, and be a long lasting thing for us. But I rather choose to spend $10 billion to create jobs in other people's country. Yes, President Bekachre said Bank of Ghana making some interventions. Some of us near thought say but $10 billion, Mr. President, is too much. It's too much. Do you know the number of jobs at $10 billion in our economy bet me created the amount for? Bedi nyako krane ma wa monane e na porter amafo akrane ma bo memu no enya de ketwa because dollar rate above from. For how long are we going to continue to pump in $10 billion to show up your currency when the fundamentals are becoming weak?
I'm say now who TV presenter who journalist who na ka say me IMF a question here after say question we no atire o mebo abaso. Oh, we a journalist, you saw it, you heard it, you read it. Now, some of us about what we are not just say there's something that the Bank of Ghana Governor Johnson Asiema knows, and you and I don't know. Now, why Anna Cadman Atamis, Nibra Bako, just say, or very critic, open, or more, a friend is saying, citizen vigilante for Bakwa, or come even though you end this knee, or to me fire in this former. No more common word to manner or say the present day any NPP before can say Sasikaya a Kodon Pom Krumans who say 10 billion there say Memwa, Yebeja Bank of Ghana Governor Johnson has said most what say the reason why you see the appreciating. Now when na Cadman Atamas HSA among for ante Sikana say the other for his woman say yay hey unima dear was oh my god help such utter confusion. Does this guy understand anything about economics? Does he understand that the $10 billion in foreign exchange was sold to importers in exchange for Ghanaian cedis to import goods, including imports, petroleum products, machinery, etc., to facilitate production and consumption? In Ghana, manufacturing, agriculture, and service. He's also saying that if importers had been deprived of the additional 10 billion in foreign exchange to import goods, that foreign exchange could have been directly invested in the 24-hour economy. How would that even work? No way. Ti ne kra na Cadman Atamnes HSA papa no nima no nim. Akwasi yesi unim bantuma akwasi. Yesi unim he de wo keke the economy say won tiase. Na sa de na kodo obon kuruma so tiase. Sa de na a lot of NPP for bi amati omo a. Omo ye the member of parliament, edema NPP just said the year pompis comes under the NPP Ghana was going to Eurobond. You did 3 billion in the bisham. Your pompis lamfa. You did 3 billion are still. And for any way you book up a baby, and the Eurobond who intimate can be you. And he said, and they dear Cadman Atamis teacher will not say, you can say the $10 billion. And you wear a foreign exchange more. You ton $10 billion in your tongue, Sicano, dollars no. Near the Agi cities, and your ship. Near we or more, you are turning your woman, only go to Dana Diaba. The before Mugo go to Dia, and every amount for Manso. So Mugo Fania, my name go Cradiaba. Say yen yan, say yen machines, say ye, Mungwanyaba. And somebody says, can go to Dana Bia. Ghana buying him say gold, and in the cocoa, and the gold board, Nico Cobalt, and his canning beside him. Only the Beshema, and here dollars, meaning say, yeah, dollars and near $10 billion and anchor down, air reserve mono. And ye. And I Ghana cities in Ankenam and Montaine's who I had getting for a situation bottom of Monico. And I'm so dead you know Godino, Omon Tom free Ghana for 120. Omo Quaco 12 for 110 or my for also. And also the dollar and ye Ecodis Adriano. In this idea, Mumra open a friend says Chicago did Dana, Beji, Ukta a friend said 100,000 Ghana cities, equivalent to dollar near the amount, Yama dollar. And the dollar now, the amount of the Quaco Fund Yamandiaba. Near this city in the Quaco 2 years reserve, but here reserve no dollar city da wa enka hute because yen yesi de no enye sika ye di no man foforo so unlike a dollar no friends said world trade transaction currency but city de capre and apart from say you want gold reserve and as dollar reserve no you need reserve bia and say yes I to we na we no go to a sika be sa back ever back no you said the gold board and the Okoe-Boye said sika krasa back to this who be che na ka say says you can even go 24, even go not 24 hours. What do you mean? Or say, and also, way, the reason why I did because hey, moon follow governance, you. John Dramani Mama 24-hour economy, I'll say, oh, yeah, about 400 billion. Not to me, I is successful, and as a fruitful now. Or say the government of day, and I will say investors, and about over 80 to 90% of that. But Obama, friends, security, I tight, which we are seeing all that big push. Pushing the roads everywhere, very active. At the same time, in their security, 40 armor car for police, 40 armor car for soldiers. Menu me no yani Felix Kwakye. At the same time, in that, so inflation will be better. We invest now, but there's confidence. The city is stabilized, and I know never man for being invested our country anymore. When you say Ghana, your biggest import, I dare you importing against pa sir, for them pum. I could go first. Portrait go Ghana, you got to be good fridge. And then I go on getting over 3 million best. John Dramani Muhammad Yaba. Obe make sure say yen Ghana for ebe yankoko. Na yesa kunkuko no hani package yo mo hey. Anti meat and poultry processing plant. Obe be mo bechem. Na no ye obe got sword. Ala cha say ebe etwaso ama ye say asi. Enkuko ye sha say distributing kuko nkitingiti. Ye ko lanti no Ashanti region Kumasi. So meaning say some of the things are important. Ebedu a year or two, important bio. Yebedai, yebetuma bandi say. But as you go bandi and go and Nanjuna intiminto, upon China intiminto, a few go intiminto. There's a cocoa force ya and Tia. Tangan and Sukra Tangan, a cocoa force, Kitwebi. And now need to probably be near it. And John Dramani Mama El Metia no Eddie Flu. So if that's been done, it means that very soon we wouldn't have to waste too much money. Say, yeah, they went to a forest exchange because we are importing less. And remember, John Dramani Mama Nemoto, when it comes to the 24-hour economy, say Ghana is ready to be an export country. And that's the reason why I'm saying, see, you know, now comes so much media drop here, manaba less than 10. But almost tenasi a meeting, the finance minister, the president John Dramani Mahama, and then the Bank of Ghana Governor Johnson Esiama, and then after forcing, tenasi a Joy, and we look. You best export binti, never import binti. You are about neman and that side between you are. A sense you ever waiting and what way. I know my fair ever seen there. And the Omaya said Ghana so started or exporting heavily. Ebe boy my returns na ebenyano ebe my economy na koso afloat saa na wumpe we na opeden opekaya moto na eno achi ana Felix Kwakye say sa 10 billion exchange rate intervention yes Bank of Ghana dey chema akwesi Isia of Adum TV kojo pon kroma of NPP any some of the NPP MPs any communicators ekeka no also omunti ase nti omunto mbase nti we medical trace we we that but first of Ofosu Kwakye say monto mbase o man nye better na monti ase from the government perspective.
They say, oh, we have spent $10 billion. The Bank of Ghana has spent $10 billion intervening in the forest market to show up the city. And now we could have just spent $4 billion of that to do the big push. Indeed, I have seen the video in which a TV presenter and some panelists are arguing this way. With the greatest respect to them, that is high-profile ignorance. You know, the Bank of Ghana does not dash forex to the market. You see, forex, foreign exchange, that's the official term. It's like any other commodity. It's like Okoe-Boye's nice suit. It is sold for a price. If there is scarcity of these suits, multiple bidders will put in money. And that is likely to raise the price. It is basic economics. And he himself alluded to how demand can impact prices. So if there's a shortage of forex, people bid and are prepared to pay higher than the other person so that they secure it. The entity in Ghana that has the legal status to sell forex, or as it were, procure forex for release onto the market, is the Bank of Ghana. Their law mandates them to do so. So the banks or commercial banks, through which businesses also secure forex, buy forex from the Bank of Ghana. So they go and give the Bank of Ghana cedis, the cedi equivalent of how much forex they want. The Bank of Ghana takes that money, gives it to Gold Board to purchase gold. The Gold Board then exports that gold, gets dollars and brings it back to the Bank of Ghana. So it's not like the Bank of Ghana goes into its vaults, takes dollars and go and give it to commercial banks for free, so that you can use that same money to go and build a hospital or finance 24-hour economy. So the NPP and their propagandists must cut out this propaganda. It doesn't do them justice when they argue this way. So the Bank of Ghana calls it intermediation. Basically, they are a middleman between the source of the forex and the commercial banks, who also do business with forex bureaus and other operators in the economy. This is how it works. So it's not like there was $10 billion lying there doing nothing and they just decided to pump it. And you see, Moro, the cost of living, which generates hardships, is the biggest problem of the Ghanaian. Every government that has lost election in this country can trace the loss to sentiments about cost of living and hardships. And I'm sure Okoe-Boye will bear me out. Indeed, the Asantehene has a famous video in which he says that Ghana for the economy and liberal the Tuaba. So that the moment they begin to feel hardships and they determine that you have caused it, they punish you as they punished the NPP and they've punished the NDC before and they punished other parties before. So any government has a responsibility to do what it takes to ease the burden and suffering of the people. So if the Bank of Ghana and Gold Board, and he himself has praised the Gold Board initiative, the Gold Board initiative or proposal was in our 2020 manifesto. We didn't win and therefore we could not implement it. But having won now, we've implemented it. And in the last few months, let's say 8 to 9 months, they've brought in $10 billion of forex. And that is how the Bank of Ghana is able to get that sort of liquidity to put into the market so that when businessmen need it for import or other activity, they get some. That is how come the currency has appreciated. The downside of it is that the currency would have depreciated, the city would have depreciated, and it would mean that prices will continue to go up, which will lead to direct suffering of the people.
Eti agbenya asem na si ade no etwetwa. Eti dandam killing, dandam settings ni na killing ni na. Eti according to Felix Ofosu Kwakye, eti say NPP for denda moye about friends saying electricity increment no or say NPP mu na mo de baaye. Enti say mo se Ghana for ensuntie mu enfre say omuku omo de ani NPP for mo na muku omo. IMF contract na mo ko sign no, de mo kan no. Eno na mo so omo to aso. $10 billion I say they share forest exchange mu na man fon tiase no. Felix Ofosu Kwakye etete me mesuma chechim. Cadman Atamis. Ah we Atamis enua be ma no. Also etete ndi na what tiase kama. So be the asset is in down neighbor. Bon gara we sini hu. Ka jense onim economy so ngobe bebi. Na wona na wontena. Na mom no say oh different idea and understanding bia. For to comment section as na o support dandam killings wa. For comment to comment section as we are. Subscribe, like it. Na share mo unya so enya bi enhwe. Edi no eye ba ko pe Max Billian naked truth Oldboga trends. Macro. Bye bye.